Phil, I've been thinking about the collection. When Gothic comes, we're gonna get an expanded deck list of 60, 30, and 10. And 10 of those cards, you're basically gonna add 20 cards to your deck, right? You're gonna add 10 cards to your main deck and then 10 cards to your collection. And the more I'm
And
thinking about it, Phil, the more I'm thinking like the collection is going to really be game defining. It's gonna like what you choose to put in your collection is going to be some of the most important decisions you can do, especially because a lot of the cards that are doing things in your collection are either putting things in that are unique effects or they're like tutors that get a specific card, right?
so the collection is just a tutor mechanic. And for anybody who you know, coming to sorcery is like speaking a second language, right? Like my first language is magic, and then everything in my second language here is, has to associate through the first.
Yeah, it's a
This is
wishboard.
lesson learned. The collection is lesson learned
Mm-hmm.
from magic.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, exactly.
the functionality of having all these cards become wish effects, which are you get a tutor out of your collection for something. There's just a ton of deck building space within that, but I don't know. Like everybody seems to understand that this is going to be paradigm shifting stuff, but I think that there's going to be the amount of nuance that you have in terms of your numbers for incidental effects that you might care about over the course of a metagame is so vast that it presuming that you have an effect or they allow for an effect to exist in a collection that would otherwise solve any problem you could think of, there are no problems that should exist that aren't solvable, which is why the collection is so infinitely flexible, because at any point, if there was ever a problem, instead of like banning an effect, they could just give everybody access to a very, like, imagine if in Magic you could just always, in turn one, you could just tutor for your Grafdigger's Cage to put it into play against Reanimator. Like that would be insane, right? Like that would make it so that anybody who wants to play a Reanimator style deck would need to like be present for 100% of the games.
Well,
This card is going to be present against them.
this is the issue though, is when you do something like that, you have to be you can't be cavalier in those effects, right? Because if once you do that, you're basically saying we do not want you playing this type of we're disincentivizing you from playing this type of strategy, right? And
So
so if that was the case when you're building your deck, you immediately go, well, I mean, this is bonked by the collection, so I have to not play that,
I
right?
don't take that at face value. Actually, I think that I'll push back on you a little bit there, because let's say the the most effective way to get a certain answer in your deck to something. So you and I are playing something, and you want to like, okay, I'm on Archimago, and there's a clear thing that just says players can't cast spells from graveyards, from cemeteries,
Sure.
right? And you're like, I don't really want to put graveyard hate in like the incidental graveyard hate sites, because now that we're getting way more sites and I want to be able to like use those slots more effectively, if I can just put this players this anti Archimago tech in my collection and I can just access it every time, what that does is if it becomes so trivial to just do an effect like that, it just means that the then Archimago player or whoever in this example, whoever that player is, goes, okay, well, the likelihood is that the overwhelming number of things that are going to try and disrupt me is this thing that everybody can have access to relatively easily. So if I can just beat that or be prepared for that, then that thing will likely be insufficient at solving the problem that they put it in to begin with. So it's actually double-edged, right? Like if it's something that is developed enough that people have adopted it, then it's a lot easier to combat. If it's just incidental, like if some people are playing it, not everybody, and it doesn't like take hold, but like if the meta coalesces around trying to beat Dredge, and then Dredge knows what it has to beat, it's a lot easier for it to like identify those problem cards. And then the next level is, okay, if they're not paying attention to the other hate, then I can play that other hate and get an advantage that way. And then
Yeah.
the meta becomes a little bit more cyclical.
Well, there's a bit of genius to the concept of the collection, because I think the genius is actually limiting it to 10 cards, not like Magic's 15 for their sideboard, right? 10 cards is tight. You really have to make your decisions count, right? So if you go into a tournament and you're like, well, I'm going to pack a bunch of hate for this, and then you never see it, you've wasted a bunch of slots in your collection, right? Or at least a slot in your collection, and that's 1/10 of the things that you can be doing. Now there are also cards, Phil. Like there's a site that I think puts a ghoul into play from your collection. So ghoul's a 3 mana 3/3 or 3 mana 3 power guy, right? which is fine and all, but getting it for free is pretty good. So you might want to make sure that those are in your collection. What if you have 2 of those and you have to put 2 ghouls in your collection? Or if we look at this card, Release the Hounds, it puts 2 hellhounds from your collection into play and gives them charge. That's great, but that means that's at least 2 slots, and this is elite. It's at least 2 slots, and you maybe want 4 if you're playing 2 of these, so that you can get your hellhounds out when you want to, right? And what if there are other spells that get your hellhounds out, right? So you really got to be careful about what you put in your collection, and this is why we're having the episode, because I want to really go into the exceptional sites that you have a choice of without looking at the sites from Gothic so far. Just the sites that we know about, that we already have access to, and seeing if there's anything that's like obvious there.
So the stuff that like Release the Hounds, where it's like sort of guiding you on what to put in your collection, that sort of thing, like the number of slots that you want to dedicate to your collection to solving problems assumes that there are problems to solve. A deck that's playing Release the Hounds and asking you to dedicate, anywhere from 2 to 4 slots, that deck
says I'm making problems.
Right. But and that's the difference of what the collection can do, right? Like the collection can be, I have access to, I can play more answers in my main board. Hold on 1 sec. I can put more answers in my main board because I have access to this card that puts, 6 power worth of charge into play. So if I have like this big, Release the Hounds as towards the end, and then I can, remove threats from my deck, I can consolidate threats. Like imagine if this thing said it was a 7-mana thing that was a 3/3 that said also create a 3/3 token. They both have charge until end of turn. It's like, okay, well, that would be a fine card if it's what you wanted to play. If you wanted access to charge, you wanted to pump up your charge stuff. But the fact that like this is doing that with the collection, and the collection just happens to be a little bit more expansive, so that the cost of that is less. And also something we said too is the difference of Release the Hounds being something that's magic, as opposed to in the other example of like if it was a minion that created something, that has different implications. Some cards care about magic being cast, right? Like if I play this in, I can play this in Archie, and I can flash it back, and then yes, I'm putting 4 slots in my collection to being creatures, but now I have access to, this would be like, but like the thing is, like maybe I want to use 4 of them in the collection, but I only want 1 in my deck because I get to flash it back and put them both in.
Well, then also, Phil, that's a perfect example of what I was talking about, though. Like, how many hounds do you want, right? What if you have to cast this a 3rd or 4th time in your Archie deck? I can't imagine you want to just put 4 hellhounds in your 8 hellhounds in your sideboard, even though you could conceivably cast it that many times, right?
So here's the question. Here's the question. For there are some cards that tuck things back into your deck. Is the collection a separate deck?
It is. It's a separate deck.
That, I mean, like, is it also going to be in different sleeves, in that if something were to say, put this back into your deck, it goes back into the collection?
I don't think we've gotten exact rules on that yet, but I'm pretty positive that it is a separate deck. Just like your Atlas is a different deck.
From your spellbook, yeah. And like, because there's a card called Return to Nature, which is just Guy's Blessing, that says put 3 spells back on top, back on the bottom of its deck. Mm-hmm. But while spells may not be sites, spells can be spells in your collection. So
yeah, so what I think you're getting at is if, let's say, this hellhounds die, do they like go back to the collection, or do they like go to the cemetery? Like, what happens? I honestly don't know yet.
Yeah. There's implications to that pretty deeply. If they go to the cemetery, but then if they were to somehow get shuffled back into the whatever deck they belong to, if they go back to the collection, that's very different than if they go into the spellbook, because now they don't have the quality of not having to be drawn as a huge upside.
Yeah. Now and for what it's worth, maybe they have given us all those answers, but I haven't seen a rule book yet for Gothic, so I can't say for sure, because I haven't gotten a chance to like really dig down and read the stuff. And I'm trying, like, there's a part of me that really wants to dig down and see all the spoilers and like really get everything, but there's also a part of me that like wants to be surprised on the day that everything comes out.
Zach wants to be surprised, and every time I see a spoiler anywhere, I just spam our chat. I'm like, look at this. What can we do?
That's okay. Like, I'm going to see them anyhow because I'm following content, right? But there is a part of me that like does want to, like, this is like an old school, like, Phil, I think I told you when Iconic Masters came out for Magic the Gathering. This was at HasCon. It was the first time that there was a set release for Magic the Gathering there wasn't a full spoiler out for that set since like Mirage. And it was really cool to be a part of that, to be like, I don't know what I'm going to open. Like, who knows, And people were really excited about that. So I do want to get some of that childlike wonder about opening a pack and being like, I don't know what's in this. It could be anything, So there is an amount of that is fun, but there's also a part of me as a content creator that just wants to see all the stuff so that I can react to it and look at it and start deck building and theory crafting and stuff like that. Now,
and just to reiterate quickly on all of the stuff that we have seen that's spoiled. Man, dude, the game is just so beautiful. It's just a
it
beautiful
looks great.
game.
The Ian Miller artwork
on
on the Earthsats Platts and it just looks so fucking cool, man. But let me I'm going to share with everyone a list of all of the exceptional sites in the game. So, Phil, what I want to do is run down this list and just talk about the value of like throwing one of these cards into your collection to use with Ersatz Platts. Now, again, I think it's important to talk about how the play pattern of Ersatz Platts works. It's not a Genesis ability, so you're not going to like get the site immediately. You have to play the site on that, and then it banishes the Platts. So you're not like gaining mana the turn that happens. Important thing is like you really want valuable effects, right? Like you want things that are going to be like a sideboard card to be part of this so that you can answer problems. It's not like, oh, I'm getting value and making mana. Like you're going to play Ersatz Platts when you need to answer a problem, right?
or create a problem.
Or, yeah, indeed, or create a problem. Certainly.
There's something to be said too about how Ersatz Platts sort of breaks the paradigm of what Pathfinder restricts you to, because now you can just throw any exceptional site that you would like a second of, or any site that you didn't have in your atlas, and then it can just be the Earthsats Platts site for Pathfinder. So Pathfinder not getting redundant effects now actually can get a redundant effect if it wants it, because Pathfinder, unless they errata it, says can't have duplicates in your atlas. Doesn't say you can't have duplicates at all. By specifying your atlas, you can throw a second copy in your collection and call it. Is Archimago something that I can get off my Earthsats Platts?
No, you just have to, because of the site being the way it is.
Yeah,
you just have to choose a avatar to be able to make a deck.
Yeah, and Pathfinder is the more flavorful avatar though with this.
It is true. I want to start here with let's just go over real fast all the mana fixing, because that's the low hanging fruit, right? Annual Fair, Aqueduct, your Lighthouse, Oasis, Ruins, and Step, and I think we're missing Windmill. And Windmill, yeah, so Windmill.
I personally think that the dual sites, nobody's going to spend their space on a dual site in their collection.
I don't think.
And I only say that because I think that with what Earthsats Platts does is it does have summoning sickness, in that you don't actually get the site until like one turn later.
Turn, yeah.
And for the foundational stuff of just being actually able to operate, I think that the dual sites are lower. Like if it was suspend one on your Windmill before you could get that that threshold, you'd be like, that's not playable.
Well, it's not playable in an aggro deck, right? But if you were a deck that is, look at my my Dragon Lord deck, where I try and like get Calestis, get a threshold for Calestis, and then I try and get threshold for any dragon that I want to play for 3 mana, right? That might be a situation where you want that.
I'm interested in the dual sites or the tri sites off your Earthsats Platts as a threshold fixture to splash.
Well, there are no tri sites at exceptional, so that's an important thing to note. Is you're not gonna get that level of fixing.
Yeah, but like I think that like if you're using it, if you're like, okay, yeah, I'm like for when I was putting together last episode where we were just microbrewing with Archimago, there was a couple of cards where I was like, well, I don't know if I can actually play this, because I don't want to go into 4. I don't want to play all 4 elements, but you could just splash, and then you have like, if something required a single threshold of something, it's like, okay, well, Earthsats Platts can cover that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, fixing aside, we've explained enough about the fixing. Let's talk about
pronouncing it right.
What's that?
Earthsats Platts. Am I pronouncing it right?
I think that is the way to pronounce it.
I mean, it has a nice roll to it. Earthsats.
Yeah,
Platts.
Earthsats Platts. All right, so let's talk about the unique effects for these sites. Generally, I call these front sites that you want to put up in the front of your grid, right? Like you on the realm, like you want your fixing in the back, and you want your like unique effects in the front generally, because a lot of times they're messing with whatever the opponent's up to, right? And there's some give and take to that. Some things don't like actually affect the board; they'll like gain you life, like Holy Ground or something like that. But let's go through them real fast. So the first one's Babbling Brook, and it says until your next turn, minions are disabled while atop nearby sites. So that could be interesting.
Oh yeah,
Um,
Babbling Brook is great. Just making it so that you know that that king square, that king's block is not moving. Nobody can
yeah,
move. Like that's really strong.
yeah, it's not bad. All right, then we have Beacon. Gain one for each nearby site with an enemy atop it. Maybe you want to ramp, dude.
So this is the thing about Ersatz Platts, because these cards, Babbling Brook and Beacon, I actually think might be a little bit softer than it meets the eye, because knowing that I guess if your opponent is trying to play around something, but like let's say they're like, I need to make sure that I don't get Babbling Brooked here, they can move their minions away from the Ersatz Platts from where it's sitting, so that way it would be unaffected by that and limit your options. Now that's deep. Those are
Yeah,
those are
well, that's also like that's when we have an expected meta out of the gate. No one's going to know what anybody's doing with
that's right.
those
Yeah, yeah.
cards.
That's what I
You
mean
know?
by it's deep. Like once it's established as to like what cards are available, what are the optimal cards that are available in a collection until the game gets even bigger, where there are a ton more options, then it's hard to play around certain things. But if you know like the high end stuff that could be played around, that your opponent's likely to have access to, then if you can play around it, you can just like limit their options and soften the Ersatz plots.
Bedrock can't be moved, destroyed, or modified. I think this is one if you want this effect, you just want them in your deck. Like you
Yeah,
don't
I don't.
really
I
want
mean,
them.
unless there's some sort of effect where it's like you Ersatz plots being placed because it's elite and you want like 5 copies, because that's what we were talking about. What makes Ersatz plots like interesting is you can put 2 exceptionals in your atlas, 1 exceptional in your collection, and the 2 Ersatz plots, and now you actually have 5 copies of a thing that you
Yeah,
would otherwise only have 3 copies of,
yeah,
even though 2 are slower. But if you were like, I want to make sure that like I can just like bedrock an entire rank or whatever, right? Because you can
sure,
do that.
yeah. All right, Briar Patch. Whenever a minion enters or leaves this site, it takes 1 damage. I can see this being an effect you might want, but it's so situational that I don't know that like you have to be assuming that your opponent is playing like and only getting through on this site, right? You basically have to funnel your opponent into this site to get any value out of it. So I'm gonna go with a hard pass on this one.
Yeah, I have for when it comes to Briar Patch and all of the effects of enemies or units moving through it, I feel like you have to be the one that's compelling that motion. So if you're if you're playing air or something and you just like pushing people around, it's like you can just like push them back and forth in the Briar Patch and make it.
Yeah. Cornerstone. I don't think that this is not relevant, right? Like you're like, I can get my Cornerstone and play it wherever I want now. I wouldn't add this.
Yeah, well,
Fate.
typically the value of Cornerstone is to just play it near your opponent's avatar, so you can just start getting aggro, right?
I guess. I mean,
You can't
no one's
Ersatz
really
Platts in the
played this.
corner,
No
so
one's really played this card in a like constructed way. So I've not seen this in any decks. We do have the wonderful playmat for later on, but
it's it's kind of surprising to me that Cornerstone doesn't see more play in aggro decks. I guess because it doesn't provide any threshold, but like
no, because you
it's
can
like
just get there already. Like
if I
it's
just put
too
this,
far.
well, if I'm 2 squares away from your avatar in early development, and then I can just start deploying aggro minions that like can chunk you.
Try it. The
I
game
mean,
is
that's
still
not
new.
me. I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah,
trying to be. I'm not trying to be aggressive. I'm trying to sit atop the immortal throne, my guy.
yeah, yeah. All right, Face City. Tap an untapped fairy here. Shoot a projectile. It deals 1 damage.
This one's
I mean,
awesome. I think this one's awesome
perhaps.
if you have access to fairies. This is excellent.
Yeah, yeah. Floodplain. Floodplain is one I actually really like because if you're in a situation where like you want to flood something, right? If you know your opponent has a root spider, let's say, somewhere, and you're like, oh, I can kill this root spider. I have access to 4 floodplains now, right? Because you're playing 2 in your main, two Platts, and 2 in your collection.
One in your collection. You have
Sorry,
access to 5.
one in your collection. That's what I mean.
But
One in your collection.
Floodplain was the most played site in Baltimore, apparently.
Yeah. Because it gets rid of the spider.
Yeah, so like this is another one of those utility cards that like being able to expand your body of water and having access to a ton of it is something that I presumably decks that want floodplains, if floodplain was ordinary, you would play 4. So it makes sense that you would play at least that if you're interested in Earthsats.
Yeah, if we don't find anything better to play with our Platts, right?
Yeah.
Free City. It's an interesting choice, but I don't know. Just having a defensive site. I mean, you could be like, I'm going to play the 2-2-1 situation, right? Like 2 Platts, 2 Free City, and then 1 in your collection. Maybe that's a thing. Make it a little bit harder for your opponents to get through.
I think it's totally reasonable to, in a similar way that you would play,
like as a one-off. Yeah.
Like it's like just being able to turn your Earthsats Platts also into a defender. Like this strikes me as like the card where even if you didn't play Free Cities in the main because it doesn't produce any threshold, like this is the type of singleton that you would want access to be like, yeah, there's this thing that's walking towards me, and I'm just going to throw up a blocker or make it really difficult.
Yeah, or make them funnel into a specific area, right? That's all part of the movement of this game.
Like, if positionally, if you're like, yeah, their access is just directly, and you just throw a Free City in front of it off an Earthsats Platts, it's like, like if they're on. So the tricky thing is, like, if they're right in front of where you would place the Earthsats Platts, they can attack the Platts, and then next turn, if you turned it into the Free City and then they moved out of the Free City, it's not like it could defend anymore, right? Because like in the way that minions can move to defend.
This cannot move. This does not move. So, this is just if someone comes in and attacks that site, it can block.
Yeah, and Free City is the type of thing too where what it actually says it does typically doesn't come up ever because nobody's going to engage.
No one's going to kill their guy. Yeah, like no one's going to purposely kill their guy, right?
Yeah, so Free City is more of a
it's just a deterrent.
It's a deterrent more than it actually is, but at the same time, you might be interested in a deterrent given the position of the game. But we'll see how much that.
Yeah, but you can also do things like drag guys into it. Like
Zach. The other thing that you were talking about with collection slots getting tied up is we're talking about all these incidental value pieces that you can play with your Earthsats Platts, but it's like you have 2 Earthsats Platts in your Atlas. It's like how many slots of your collection are you dedicating to 2 Earthsats Platts?
Well, that's a huge point, right? So that's why we're going over this to see like what cards stand out immediately that you would be like, oh yeah, I would include that, right? Like I think a no-brainer here is Funeral Pyre.
I think Funeral Pyre is the first absolute slam dunk.
Yeah, like obviously, like oh good, now I have access to the Graveyard Hate that I want, but maybe you don't play fire, right? Maybe you're not playing fire in your deck, but you're like you need one of these is just a hedge to like slow down an Archimago or stop a Death Speaker from doing their thing, and that's a perfect example, right? So Gnome Hollows is another one that like it's situational, but you could put yourself into a situation where like, oh okay, I have access to a Gnome Hollows for this particular want, right? Maybe you want some life gain.
Yeah, this is I think life gain is also reasonable as like particularly as if the same way that you want Funeral Pyre as like the catch-all like generic effect that's really good, like 3 life can just swing a race. So having access to it, I mean, granted, it means that you're probably not playing any other life gain anywhere in your deck because you're just slotting it for the collection. But if you're in that position and it can switch up the spot, but like then people are playing Mirror Realm and stuff, so like it's possible that you can copy and you get redundant effects of things.
All right, Iceberg. Minions occupying nearby sites can't submerge or surface.
So if I didn't know
that we would care about this.
Well, here's the thing, man. If I didn't know, like when I was looking at what are the sites that I want to put together as I was learning the different options for water when I was building, like, Immortal Throne. Back when I kept texting you guys about, like, can I submerge the Immortal Throne? And then if I somehow change it from a water site to a non-water site, will the throne surface? And you were like, no, it would just be burrowed. And I'm like, oh, well, how do I lift the monument from under the realm to the surface? And you're like, well, you can't carry monuments, so it might just be stuck there. And it's like, okay, well, if then how can you win the game sitting on the throne in any way if you've submerged or burrowed it? And I think the answer is no, but I'm interested in hearing if anybody can correct me.
Unless you can somehow find a way to burrow your avatar, which I don't think you're allowed to do.
Yeah, which you can't do. The avatars just can't be burrowed, right? But unless it's like, ignoring regions, the avatars can, something avatars can ignore regions, so they can do that stuff.
Yeah,
but
something.
Let me know in the comments if there's a way that you can win after submerging or
burrowing your
immortal throne. That does not
you can burrow your throne and then get it back with
no,
Undertaker,
I'm not playing Undertaker. Right? No, I'm not playing the 7 mana 4 power. That's not happening.
You got to play a 7 in that deck anyhow, man.
Yeah, but it's not going to be Undertaker. So Iceberg, if I did, like, when I was putting it together, I was like, well, all of the stuff that's in water, I would want to be able to submerge, presumably. So Iceberg is just wholly antithetical to what I would imagine anything in a body of water would want. So it's like, nobody's ever going to play this card unless they're in water and somehow don't care about submerge, and then also want it as a
it's a weird choice.
Submerge. So if I didn't know that, like, if I came in the game, a year from now when Gothic in the collection was just, part of the game, I would have assumed that this came out as like a collection option, because I don't think this card would ever have seen play ever if it wasn't an option in the collection.
Sure. Yeah. I guess to that end, yes, there are actually some cards that start burrowed and start drowned in a new set. So maybe it's something you want. Impenetrable Cops. Projectiles can't enter this from the outside. This seems like a fine collection card if you were worried about projectiles. Projectiles becoming a thing, perhaps,
Yeah, and also, like, there are incidental cards with projectiles, and if you just like put it in the line of sight, like, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I just want one more question about Iceberg. Minions occupying nearby sites can't submerge or surface. So that means that, like, anything that says must be cast submerged can't, right? So you just can't cast that card to those sites.
No, I think submerge, the act of submerging is submerge. Is like going down, that is submerge.
So and then surface is submerge in the area?
What's that?
So you could cast something to submerge, it just wouldn't be able to surface.
Yeah, I think it could start submerged. I'm not positive, honestly, but I think it could start submerged, but it could not surface afterwards.
Yeah, so is submerge, essentially the question then is submerge referring to a movement action, or is submerge referring to a state?
I think it is a verb here.
That's a comments question. Let's get in there.
Yeah. All right. Lighthouse, we talked about. Mountain Pass. Minions can't enter the site on the ground if there is already a minion atop. That might be interesting.
Yeah, it's like if I think that Mountain Pass, like, you just put a thick ranged creature up top, and then it's like, okay, so now that ranged creature can never get attacked.
There are some new ranged creatures that look pretty interesting in this set.
Yeah, so if you if you're like, okay, I want access to 5 mountain passes because my plan is just to sit a big ranged threat atop the mountain pass and then shoot down anything in omnidirectional, like, that's really strong.
Yeah, put some drums on them, start pinging things. All right, Mudflow. Mudflow is at the start of your turn, surface or unburrow each minion occupying target site nearby. Man, it was so close to saying target artifact. You'd been able to do it.
I would have been able to do it if it were Mudflow. Yeah, Mudflow would have been close.
Lost your mind.
This does strike me as just like anti-root spider tech, right? Like, you use this and then
this is what it is.
Surface target root spider to attack it.
I do this when you can just do what's it called? Floodplain and kill it. Like, Floodplain kills it. It just drowns.
You can surface or unburrow.
Yeah. So you could surface spider, but you still have to kill it, right?
Mudflow can unsurface things that are submerged. Floodplain isn't going to move things that are unsubmerged. This thing is going to surface.
Yeah, but I'm saying if you floodplain a burrowed creature, it dies because it does not have submerge. It now is in a water site and is dead.
Right, but I'm saying that if something has submerge that you would like to surface so you could attack it.
Sure.
Yeah, like, Floodplain is obviously better against burrowed creatures, but if Mudflow covers both bases, albeit worse one way than the other, but it covers all of it, right? It just says surface. Bring that shit up to the surface of the rock.
Or unburrow. Yeah. Okay. All right. Next.
So I think Mudflow doesn't provide any threshold, but if you were already in a space where you didn't care about the blue threshold from Floodplain, you might lean towards Mudflow just because it covers more ground,
sure.
Right? Like,
of course,
if you go up against somebody and it's like, okay, well, I had Root Spider covered, but now they're messing me up because of their submerged creatures, you could just Mudflow that shit.
Yeah. Pebbled Paths. Minions top can't use charge. I think with Pebbled Paths, you just want to have 3 in your deck. But there's a possibility that because really you don't want to waste a turn not being able to have that be where it needs to be, right? Like you just want it to be where it is immediately to stop charge from happening. Because once charge starts happening, you've already kind of lost the value on this card.
Yeah, Earthsats Platts might be a little too slow to stop charge.
Yeah. Poison Well. Enemy avatars lose 1 for each nearby site they control. This could be a nice little direct damage thing. Pop it, and get like an Archimago for like 5. You know, if you set things up right. You know,
Yeah,
or
if you're
4.
positionally in the space, I think this one might be a little tight depending on like.
It could
This
just be
one
a late
strikes me
game
as
like
the one that like
2 or 3 damage that you just need, right?
maybe if you're in a super aggro deck and you're like, I always want access to Poison Well, this one strikes me as the dealing some amount of like having them lose some amount of life is just not going to be worth a slot in your collection. So it's going to be one of those cuts with like if your collection were 18, 20 cards, maybe you'd be tossing one of these in. But I feel like if space is limited, this is going to be the one that you cut because you don't actually know what this does when you put it in your collection, right? All of the other ones that we've talked about, it's like if you put them in your collection, you know when they touch the table what they're going to do. This is one of those where you're like, I don't actually know what this is worth.
Yeah.
And it's tough to make that bet.
Yeah. Quagmire's Genesis is until your next turn, units are immobile if they occupy nearby sites. So that could be good.
This is just sort of another Babbling Brook, right?
Yeah, but no, actually this so it's like Babbling Brook, but
it's worse. But
it's worse. It's close though. It's one of those things where again, your opponent like if your opponent doesn't see it coming, they're gonna get got.
This is one of those spots where it's like if you were playing Earth and Water and then you just wanted to have access to all these Babbling Brooks and all these Quagmires and you're just like, I am controlling how things go around in this realm. That can also be pretty powerful if you're building around it. I mean, similarly with what we were talking about with your range threats, if it's like, yeah, your shit can't move to attack my range threat, and then when I get to untap, I'm just going to shoot it down. It's like, that's actually pretty powerful. Like, we're seeing a bunch of things where I'm like, I hadn't thought about it before, but like ranged is starting to look really good when you have access to control how your opponent moves.
Secret Tunnel. Burrowed allies can move as if they were adjacent to other sites.
This one seems awesome.
Yeah. I don't know that I would care too much about this one.
I mean, if you're burrowing, dude, and there's burrowing in this set, burrowed allies can move as though they were adjacent. Like
Shifting Sands is one that strikes me as like if you want this effect, you just play it, right?
Yeah. I could see you playing it. I could see you playing it if you're like, I really actually do want this effect all the time, so you actually do want the 5 copies. I could see you doing it.
Yeah, I guess. Tournament grounds.
Think, dude, the difference between 3 copies and 5 copies, even if 2 are slower, is so huge.
Yeah, it's significant.
That's so big.
Anyone may cast knights, sirs, or dames to this site, and they do not have to worry about threshold. I
actually think that training grounds, if you are in the Arthurian Legends build,
mono knights, yeah.
If you are that deck, I think you actually would be playing as many training grounds as you could get your hands on.
I kind of agree with you, yeah. Town, exceptional minions cost 1 less to cast.
Tournament grounds, not training grounds.
Yeah, tournament grounds. Did I say training grounds?
I said training grounds.
Town is interesting, but I feel like you have to really be a specific kind of build. Like, this is almost a theme card, right? Like, you're like, here's my exceptional deck.
Yeah, and if you're doing that, you're playing... dude, I've been thinking of, like, I'm... Like, there are certain cards that make you, like, more excited for certain spoilers. Like, as I was looking for... I just wanted more common senses, and now we're going to get Toolbox, and that's going to be sweet. But I was looking at... I think I sent you, like, a list or an idea where I was like, oh, yeah, Call to War, just getting an exceptional mortal out of your deck. And now I'm like, oh man, any exceptional mortal
there you go. You're all the way in.
I can just play 6 copies of this thing, and now I'm hyped.
All right, Troll Bridge is actually another one that I think is defensible to play because it's not just like, okay, you get your fixing here, but also like I actually really like Troll Bridge more than Free City because that discard to me is oftentimes more relevant.
Dude, not only is discard super powerful, like I've been looking at that. I've been looking at Jester.
Yeah, Jester.
Is that what it's called? It's called the Jester, right?
I believe it is Court Jester.
Court Jester, yeah. 3 mana for a 1 power dude that if it's nearby an ally, I think they just discard a card at random.
Avatar,
like, yeah. There's also I think it's in this news. I think it's in this set, right? Or is it already out? But it's like a 2 power, 2 for 2 power, and if it attacks an avatar,
Men of Lang. You're talking about Men of Lang. That's in the base set.
Base set. Okay, yeah. That I'm just like, oh yeah, if you wanted to play the discard card, you could just do it. Now you have access to 5 troll bridges.
Yeah. Undertow is staying within the body of water, move target unit 1 step. Target unit 1 step. That's a Genesis ability, but like that's any unit. Then you can throw them into your troll bridge.
Dude, you can throw them into your troll bridge. You can like move them closer to. There's a. I forget if it's also in the new site, but there's in bottomless pit, but it has to be
bottomless pit
somehow.
Yeah,
but
you can flood play in your bottomless pit, and then
there is I think it's a site. It's just like the big whirlpool that like at the end of turn you can
Maelstrom.
everything. Maelstrom, yeah, you just move things closer to it.
Yeah.
If you undertow them closer to the Maelstrom, they're just never pulling away from that thing.
Yep. Updraft Ridge, airborne minions atop Updraft Ridge have movement +1. I don't know that this is a card you like. I feel like this is a card if you want this in your deck, you're playing the main and you're just like you're playing it and then immediately using it for some sort of value. Because it feels too slow to be like because you're already not getting the value out of this card when it hits play, right? Because you'd have to move a guy onto it, and then you'd have to move it off of it, right? So that's going to be like 3 turns worth of setup.
Movement +1 means that if they move onto it, they can move again. They have movement +1, so they moved onto it. They didn't have movement +1. Now they have movement +1, so they can move again.
Perhaps you might be right. Actually, you might be right.
I've always interpreted it this way.
Yeah,
and I was saying that like I think if you're interested in Updraft Ridge, it's another one of those 2-2-1 splits.
Okay, fair enough. All right,
if I'm doing that right, I don't know.
Yeah, Vantage Hills range units have +1 range.
Bro, now that I'm a range bro, talking about all the range, I obviously want to play 5 Vantage Hills.
And then finally, Watchtower. Unit enemies up top nearby sites permanently lose stealth. This actually, to me, is one that you could like throw in there. So I think we found like 2 or 3 that are like in a pinch, great silver bullets, right? Unfortunately, there's a card called Silver Bullet that gets exceptionals, but it has that like silver bullet potential, right? Like where you could just solve a problem as it's in the board.
Yeah, so I think that like what the big space for Earthsats Platts comes around to is presumably we were talking like if you're playing 2 Earthsats Platts because you want to maximize the potential of one of those cards in your deck. But like, let's say there's also a world where you're like, well, I don't want 5 of it. If I could play another, I would. Like I have a flex slot in my site package in my Atlas. I would like to play an additional one of these things. If you are willing to give up 1 space in your collection, I could see you also doing a 2-1-1 split. If you're like, I want the 4th copy, like I have a flex slot, I really want the 4th copy, but I would love to keep them 3 in the main. I think if you'd be willing, like I could see people doing that too, depending on what type of build they're looking at. But we also don't know what other exceptional sites are coming out in Gothic, so there's going to be like Earthsats Platts is one of those cards where the more and more cards get printed, the better and better and more flexible it becomes. So it's just a forever piece,
you know. Yeah, that's the thing about the collection. I think is that it's going to dynamically change the game. So I don't know. I'm interested to see how that works. What do you guys think? Were there any cards? I mean, we got Haystack, Fields of Phresis, and Blood something that all like one of them is like
all healing.
You can only search.
Bro. Huh? I'm just trying to cast Healing Potion, and the thing is saying no, that's going to gain 3 now instead.
Yeah. There's that. It's not called Healing Potion, man. I just watched our last episode. You called it Healing Potion like 6 times.
Yo,
it's Divine Healing. You're a cleric.
We're working on it. I'm working on it, dude. I'm working on it. It's my second language.
Yeah, but that one, the haystack that makes it hard to search, right? That's a thing.
And yeah, then that thing. Don't do that. Nobody play that card. Let me common sense.
Just Come on, we're called common sense.
Just let me cast tutors, and I'm not. And the other one is
hits silences the sight in front of it, so that's actually kind of cool.
That one was really cool. I saw people already talking about being able to develop a tri-site in front of that thing.
Yeah.
So that way you can continue advancing and developing how you want to without having to worry about giving up your. So yeah, that card is pretty interesting.
Until someone inevitably still gets to earthquake you and screw up all your sites. So it's kind of what it is.
Yeah. But you're getting the benefit of being able to develop with something against the rules, and an earthquake setting you back proper is but then you earthquake it back.
Yeah.
Well, the entire realm is shaky.
With that said, if you saw any other sites that you think would be interesting to throw into your collection, let us know in the comments. And once again, as a quick quick aside, a heads up, we have opened up our Patreon down below. There is a rank tier for sorcery. If you'd like to support us on our sorcery journey, you can do that. We will eventually, after the new year, be doing some bonus content as well, and we're working on something that I don't want to spoil just yet in the near future, and your support will go very far in helping us put that together.
Team, the things that we have coming up that we're not going to spoil now, but let me tell you, like, if you're hype,
pretty cool.
Get in, help us out to further this thing. We want to go big with this stuff, and if you help us out, we'll be able to get there a lot faster. Like,
you can find that Patreon link just below at patreon.com/eternaldurdles.
Hell yeah.
.com. Cool. Thanks, everybody.